A massive trade is on the horizon for the Milwaukee Bucks as a brand new report has come out revealing a huge Bucks trade update surrounding Brook Lopez, Pat Connaughton, and more. We're going to break down the report and discuss exactly what it entails as it gives some very prominent insight and information on the Milwaukee Bucks trade plan. Stay tuned for all that in this episode, but before we get into it, if you're a part of the 80% who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Bucks content. So if you want to help support myself and you're enjoying the daily Bucks videos, we're on the road to 1,500 subscribers, so make sure to smash that subscribe button. Let's dive right into it. We have a lot to go over today. So obviously, the Bucks are in a very rough spot right now, but a report came out revealing some very interesting details, not just surrounding the Milwaukee Bucks and Brook Lopez, but some other guys as well. We're going to dive into it all. So you can see this here. The Milwaukee Bucks are gauging interest and gauging Brook Lopez's trade value around the league per Jake Fisher. The Bucks will likely have to deal Lopez, Portis, or Connaughton to upgrade their team. Trading Marjan Beauchamp won't really do anything as they cannot aggregate salaries as a second apron team. So there's a lot of things to go over in here. And don't worry, we have a ton more reports as well. We're going to dive deeper into this report. But thinking about where the Bucks are right now, they obviously played the first night of playing the Cavs 2 games in a row. The Cavs are on the second night of a back-to-back, so if they're going to win one, it would be tonight. But reports have really started escalating recently surrounding the Milwaukee Bucks and trading one of their core pieces. Now, whether that's Brook Lopez, whether that's Bobby Portis or Pat Connaughton, you can see this here from Jake Fisher as an insider. He says, again, it's either going to be Lopez, Portis, or Connaughton that gets traded in order to upgrade their team. Yes, they're shopping Beauchamp, and we're going to dive into the exact report. You can kind of see it. He'll give some more insight. But regarding a Brook Lopez trade, this one is super, super intriguing to me because Brook Lopez is a very interesting player, and you can see this here, like the current depth chart of this team. Brook Lopez obviously has been our center for a very long time. He's a very solid one. Would trading him, what would that fix surrounding the Milwaukee Bucks? And that's the question. You look at his stats this season, he's averaging 11 points a game in 5 games. Last year, 12 points. He is still a very elite rim protector in this league. He's averaging almost 3 blocks a year this year, 2.4 blocks last year, and was obviously a finalist, finished second in the runner-up for the Defensive Player of the Year back in 2022-2023. But looking at what Brook Lopez brings to this team, he brings defense in the paint, and he brings rebounding to a degree, but he doesn't give you the rebounding that the Bucks need at this point. The more we look at this Bucks team, the more we think, hey, this team desperately needs an athletic center, whether that is, and that doesn't have to be in replacement of Brook Lopez, it can be off the bench, but they desperately need a center who can play defense and rebound. Brook Lopez plays paint defense well, but he gets exposed in the pick and roll because obviously he's a 7-footer, he's slower, he's not exactly a great defender in the pick and roll whatsoever. He can protect the paint well, yes, but they need a guy off the bench or even in the starting line, depending what route they go, who can really excel in the pick and roll defense and in getting rebounds. Now, we've talked about players on this list before. We're talking about players like Walker Kessler, who the Bucks have been rumored to, and a bunch of other players. And I do think that Walker Kessler would be a phenomenal pickup for this team. You're thinking about an athletic guy who averages 10 rebounds a game, can come off the bench, play great pick and roll defense, can protect the rim still. You still have Brook Lopez there to guard the bigger bodies because it's interesting. As you look at it going forward, you're kind of at the point of, hey, will the Milwaukee Bucks trade Brook Lopez? Will they trade Bobby Portis? We'll dive into some of the other ones. There is a world where Brook Lopez does get moved, or it's Bobby Portis, or it's Pat Connaughton. Obviously, it's different for the different scenarios, but you can see this here. Lots of news, rumors of potential change elsewhere in the organization. So Jake Fisher was asked about the Bucks' choice to decline Beauchamp on his live stream. He was also asked about what the moves are. And if you actually watch this clip, feel free to go watch it. He basically says that the Bucks are not going to move on from Doc Rivers at this point. They obviously just hired him last year. It'd be a horrible look. But they are gauging the trade markets for Lopez, Portis, Connaughton, and Beauchamp. And within this, he says that Beauchamp is probably the easiest guy to move. He's probably the one that is most likely to get dealt. But if they want to make a bigger upgrade, then Brook Lopez, Portis, or Pat Connaughton are going to be the guys that have to get moved in order for them to facilitate a trade of that magnitude. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Brook Lopez is moved. We know at this point they need to make some sort of move here. Something needs to change. The Milwaukee Bucks at this point are in a very interesting spot. They're 1-4, and if they go out and they lose their next couple games against the Cavaliers, or they go out and they just have a couple of rough goes, if they fall to 1-6, or even just like 2-7, 2-8, people are going to demand for a move, and it's not going to happen in the form of Doc Rivers. It's most likely going to happen in the form of whether that's Bobby Portis, whether that's Brook Lopez, or Pat Connaughton. That being said, you can see this here. Again, the restrictions enforced by the second apron, we all know about that. It'll make it very difficult for the Bucks to make any trade, but specifically if they're only including Marjan Beauchamp. But you can see this here. Also, trading Lopez doesn't make much sense, sorry. He provides valuable spacing at the center position that is not replicated by many across the league. His shooting ability spaces the floor for non-shooting star Giannis, and he anchors the Bucks defense by protecting the rim. Now, it's interesting because I'm not sure how much Bucks basketball this article, the person who wrote this article, actually watches. Yes, I completely agree that he is one of the centers that fits perfectly alongside Giannis in the sense of he stretches the floor, which helps open up the floor for Giannis, who is primarily a paint, he drives the paint as a paint scorer. But his pick and roll defense has been lackluster. But most importantly, his rebounding has been really rough this year. And again, it's not a knock against Brook Lopez. It's kind of the player he's always been. The problem is at this point, the Bucks desperately need more rebounding, and they're not getting it in the form of Brook Lopez. I don't think they should trade Brook Lopez personally. I don't know if that solves the problem. I'd be more inclined to trade a guy like Bobby Portis or Pat Connaughton and upgrade your bench center and kind of just go based off matchups. Like if you get a guy like Walker Kessler who can get rebounds and play better pick and roll defense, if you're going up against a team that has Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, you put in Brook Lopez. If you're going up against a team that has a smaller center that are running more of a small ball, even like the Celtics, Kristaps Porzingis at the 5, you put in a guy like Walker Kessler who can keep up with the faster centers. So it's interesting. He would hold tons of value. There would be a lot of teams out there that would like him. But again, whether you think he's the problem or not, I'm not sure trading Brook Lopez on his own is going to fix anything. But that being said, I'd be more inclined to trade a guy like Bobby Portis who can go out there and maybe get you some decent value, and then you try to get a guy like Walker Kessler. Again, I'm using Walker Kessler as an example because he was brought up in trade talks and the Bucks are linked to him, and who knows if they're, if that's the route they want to go. But what they do want to do is certainly make an upgrade at the center position. And whether that's in the form of, we don't know if it's going to be Bobby Portis or Brook Lopez, but we do know that they are going to be actively shopping for a center. And that's the biggest thing going forward for this team. And it's a very interesting thing. And again, the more you read this, if you guys are out there, Bucks fans, hoping that, Doc Rivers is the guy who gets let go, it seems at this point that is very, very unlikely. It seems like it's going to be anybody else besides Doc Rivers because they just signed him. They fired Adrian Griffin, who was like 31-12, all these different things. Doc Rivers has kind of lost the locker room a little bit. At least he hasn't lost the locker room from what we can see yet, but he's lost the fans' trust. Again, going all the way back to when he's saying we need to develop a new culture, all these things, and none of those things have happened yet. And it's going to be very interesting to see. Let me know in the comment section down below if you're watching this right now, which player out of these three would you like them to deal the most? Lopez, Portis, or Connaughton? At this point, it seems like Marjon Beauchamp is going to be the one to get shipped off, but you're not really getting much value from Marjon Beauchamp, specifically because of the salaries. If you trade Beauchamp in your 2031 first that you have, that is probably your most valuable trade chip, it doesn't really matter because you have to match the salaries and you can't aggregate the salaries because of the second apron and because of all the money they give to, of course, whether it's Lopez, Giannis, and Dame. It's interesting. They're a little bit handicapped, so they're going to have to make some of their trades for some of their bigger players. So let me know in the comment section down below what your thoughts are on this. And again, if you're enjoying the daily Bucks content, make sure to hit the subscribe button. The Bucks do play the Cavs tonight. Might have a post-game video for you all tonight. Stay tuned for that. We'll see you guys later.